Live here in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. This is the Morning Brief. Thank you indeed for joining us here on the program, and we promise you the next 2 hours is going to be really, really interesting with the conversations and updates that we have lined up for you. I am Kelly Egiga.
Well, it's the 23rd, Thursday, beautiful morning of July. Welcome to your perfect morning starter. Some people didn't want to tell me the exact date today, but I disappointed them by getting it right. Of course, it's your perfect morning conversation where we give you information and news that you can use and help you get along your way. I am Bukola Koka.
Well, from the date tracker to myself, I'm Jeffrey. Good morning, and welcome. Guys, what are you tracking, man?
Well, I mean, the DSS again in the news, and it looks like cheering story or news for many Nigerians, particularly the story that has to do with some students that were kidnapped on June the 3rd, more than 1 month ago. And this is coming on the backdrop after a professor was also rescued by the DSS. So it's cheering news for the family members. It's cheering news for the students as well who have regained their freedom. There were students of Federal Polytechnic Kaura Namoda, which is now in Zamfara states. Historically, it used to be in Sokoto State some years ago. So it's sharing news, and we hear that. I like the fact that the DSS is putting out a statement and saying, you know what, no ransom was paid. So there you go, the 4 students who were released, rescued by the DSS, I should say, students of the University of Federal Polytechnic Kaura Namoda. So it's cheering news for these students. I'm not sure how exactly this would impact them, you know, psychologically, but it's good to see them alive. It's good to see them back, reunite with their families, I'm sure, in the coming hours. So it's cheering news, but then again, there's the question as to, are we going to continue on this path and trajectory of rescuing or releasing? Are we going to continue on this path? And for how long? I mean, what can we do to put an end or curb these kidnappings headlong? We cannot continue to react. We cannot continue to wait for these attacks to happen and then react. And just this morning, I looked at the motto of the DSS. It's loyalty, vigilance, and verity. So where's the vigilance? Because vigilance would ensure that these kind of things are curbed or not even allowed to happen, or prevented rather from happening in the first place. Where's the intel? Where's the intelligence? We're talking about Kaura Namoda. My father schooled in that particular school in 1985. He schooled there from 1985 to 1988. And someone from the south going to the north to go school. Where we are right now as a nation is the fact that no average parent from the south would want his son or daughter to go to the north and school, because that's the Nigeria that we have created as it stands right now. So as we celebrate this news, and we're hoping that we'll see more releases or rescue efforts from the DSS and other sister security agencies, we're also questioning the fact that we cannot continue on this trajectory of reacting, of rescuing or releasing, and ransom not being paid or paid or whatever. We cannot continue this trajectory. Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. More needs to be done. That's a question that nobody can debate with. We need to be upbeat. We need to be more proactive as a people, as security agencies, as a government. But we must commend them for what they've done. These 4 students now released. As you said, the DSS statement says one of the kidnappers was arrested. The others didn't survive. So this was a rescue mission. Well, the kidnappers, some of them had to pay the ultimate price, and one is in the custody of the Department of State Services that will be prosecuted, I believe, maybe in the coming days or in the coming hours. We are not sure of when the papers will be ready. However, we also want to commend them for some of the things they've done. We know that the 3 persons that were arrested that aided that Orire incident have also been will be arraigned today in the Federal High Court, Abuja. So they too can face justice. We're also expecting to hear, I haven't heard whether the DSS has actually formally appealed that judgment we talked about against those 2 Ansari commanders, when we say, Giving them a life sentence is like tapping them on the wrist. They should get the capital punishment. We should book a date with them and their maker via the state. Forgiveness is between them and their God. But when it comes to the Nigerian state, based on the atrocities they committed, they need to face justice. So there you have it. The latest is that 4 persons, 2 ladies, 1 lady rather, and 4 young men have now been rescued by the cooperation of the DSS and every other person involved. DSS has said that no ransom was paid, that some of the kidnappers were killed, but 1 has been arrested. So when we hear arrest, the next we want to see is arraignment, charges and arraignment. So as far as this is concerned, we're hoping that, and I agree with you, Kelly, we need to be more proactive. So now we are moved from, so on this government end, what is happening now is the fact that they are taking a lot of action in terms of ensuring that these people are released. The next phase is to stop these things out. But what I know from every release or rescue or whatever it is that it happens, every rescue that happens, trust me, there are so many others were prevented that will never make the news. That is the truth. When prevention happens, I think we heard about some prevention, I think in Borno the other day, a few others. So maybe we may have a data because there's a lot of issue of trust when it comes to the state and the people. So just like kidnap and rescue happens, let the security forces also tell us every time they prevent an attack, we would like to see, because we would like to celebrate it as well, just like we did the one in Borno. So I believe that for 1 abduction, maybe there are 5 or 10 prevention of those abduction. But bad news spreads fast. But more needs to be done by everybody. More needs to be done. Bukola.
Yes, indeed, guys. I'm on all fours with you as far as the efforts being made are concerned. Kelly, we may not be where we want to be as far as deterrence, as far as arrest and prosecution, important trials for those who are terrorizing the Nigerian state. But we are certainly not where we are, and that's what we must acknowledge the efforts of the security operatives, the DSS, the police, and the Nigerian armed forces. So whether we're not arresting all of those who are involved in specific kidnap cases or not, at least rescue is being done. And perhaps this is time to recall the account given by the DSS in the Orire kidnap and rescue incident, where some were neutralized according to the DSS and some were arrested. The arraignment of 3 which would happen today, cheerfully so. But the account that came through over the weekend, and Kelly, Jeffrey and I, had a reasoning session over this particular account by a teacher by the name Isaacs Babatunde Oso, who granted an interview and talked about how they were escorted to safety and perhaps no arrest was made. He talked about how they were blindfolded for days and they weren't even, in fact, had any knowledge or knowing of where they are at a particular point in time for days. Whether that is, unsettling as far as the account that has been provided or not is concerned, then we must ask questions about the gallant officers who reportedly paid the ultimate price amid the Orire rescue mission. So we must ask questions about that. We must ask questions about the arrests and the arraignment, arrests made amid that rescue operation. And so, but of course the DSS has dismissed this, but it leaves more questions than answers about, how that particular operation transpired. Perhaps, there's some information where rescue and security operations are concerned that are not for public consumption. And it's a psychological warfare as much as it is a warfare on the ground with boots deployed to the ground to tackle frontally those who are terrorizing Nigerian state. And so to protect the Nigerian people and to ensure that, as far as and as much as possible, this atmosphere of fear that the terrorists want so, desperately to perpetrate and pervade the atmosphere is reduced significantly. For that, perhaps the Nigerian people will be grateful, and we hope for more successful rescue missions. And we call at this point in time the rescue operation for the federal government college in Borno, the rescue operation in Kwara State, the rescue operation in Kogi State, and we hope that more success stories can be told.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's always a two. First, when it comes to state security issues, we will never know everything. That's I can guarantee you.
Yeah.
Second could be that incident that happened. Few days into that incident, a man's head was chopped off. I do not see terrorists being so magnanimous to let people go. If they chopped off a man's head, it's difficult for me to believe that they let them go. It could also be that there was a closing in that made it inevitable for them to let them go, or they had no choice.
Yeah.
This is game over. It's game over. So the state has already taken charge, because the state said they wanted the Ansari leaders to be released, and the state said we're not going to release them, which is why what happened in court, and the DSS is not happy. So there are so many narratives to this, but what I am reasoning, I said, if in 2 days into their mission, they killed a man, beheaded him, the magnanimity of those kinds of people is far and in between. So 50-something days, maybe closed in aggressively by the security agencies, and they had no choice than to do what they had to do for their own safety. So, but what I'm saying in all of this, the state has said they were rescued. Whichever narrative, you have to provide evidence. And again, is the fact that the state, we have always said the state must have the monopoly of violence and authority and force to be able to do what they have to do. But guys,
I'm just going to maybe just 3 things. Number 1, to the courts, when these issues come to you,
send them to hell.
Send them to their maker. Don't tarnish the efforts of these people, because you do not have an idea what they go through in the forest, or what they go through to keep this nation safe. So the courts, I think, will have to do better with these cases when they come to you. Secondly, for the security operatives, Operation Safe Corridor, introduced in 2016, I think it has largely failed Nigerians. The defense minister has said shoot on sight. We do not have time for all of this. And then thirdly, I hope we're not seeing this kind of reactive measures now and swift response because there's an election in 2027. I hope we're not seeing that because of this, because we are used to seeing all of this play out before an election year. After the election year, everything is back to normal.
Well, Papi has said after election there will not be violence. But let's leave that. But 2 things we are trying to say: commendations to the security agencies, to the courts. Please, when these cases come, I know you're going to do justice according to the law. Let justice find the killers to be killed. It's as simple as that. So that the Nigerian state will maintain its monopoly, and we hope that we will be safe Sunday. But we just have time for a few things. Donald Trump has written to the president to commend him for the effort. I was talking to you yesterday. I said I suspect some of these efforts of releases and rescue efforts by the government has played a role. But you cannot take away the politics of it. Let's leave the security agencies out of it, because Donald Trump will praise you today. Tomorrow he goes ballistic on you. But it's good for the Nigerian states that the American government via Donald Trump is recognizing some level of effort by the government to, in their own words, say the security improvements. They always maintain this protection of Christians and all of that. That's also a strong narrative from the American government. So the presidency had released a letter written by Donald Trump to President Bola Tinubu. Some are saying this is a good mileage for him politically. I'm seeing more politics. Forget the security guys. They are doing their work. So I'm just worried that today you may be praising this president, tomorrow he's going to call our country another name. Guys, what do you make of it?
Well, if commendations, it's just like the award given to the CBN governor, and I'm wondering if the results in the economy are enough for the award. But that's another conversation for entirely.
I know where you're going. I'm not in that part.
You're not in that WhatsApp group.
No, I'm in that WhatsApp group. That's my territory.
But if minimal results were enough for commendation, then maybe we'll just have to accept it, because there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. In the North Central, killings are still ongoing in a disappointing measure in Benue State and in Plateau State, and there is still a very real threat, about the presence of bandits, of kidnappers in Nigeria's southwest. And so the results are beginning to come in, and there is now evidently political will, to rein in on the challenge of insecurity. But what are the other results that should be seen in improved welfare for members of the Nigerian Armed Forces, improved welfare for the police force that really are supposed to be holding sway strongly in internal security? Where is the welfare for the Nigerian police? What about the state police, bill that is now, making progress? What would it look like on ground? What about settlement for internally displaced persons in their ancestral homes? Either it's in Borno or it's in Benue State, where there's a real problem of internally displaced persons, and in Plateau State, where the terrorists are still, attacking and killing people. Some stories do not even come through, and they really do occur. And so when we get those results on ground and in settlement, especially for people in their ancestral homes, then perhaps it will be an ideal yardstick for measuring commendations and accolades, for awarding commendations and accolades. But the results are still very few compared to where we ought to be.
Well, I'm not particularly sure why this is coming at this time, but it looks more political, like Jeff has said. I totally agree. And I remember what played out when Goodluck Jonathan was president, and how it looked like the US had turned against him, and he would eventually lost the election. So, but it's a good commendation. I would rather prefer that Mr. Trump, as you commend my president, support us with the kind of equipment and technology that we need to combat the insecurity here in this country, and then try to make it easier for us to get this kind of equipment that you have in your country. Don't make us go through all of this kind of bureaucracy that we've had to experience in the past. And I hope it's not because China is coming to do business with us. That is why you have now realized that, you should come back, because I think the US is perhaps Nigeria's greatest ally in terms of investments and all of that. So that's my own thoughts on this.
So Russia, China, and America will always look for a playing field. You need to be wise. So Nigeria is wise. So when you are a government, you will benefit from all sides. Depends on how you play. This is Bola Tinubu stand the president. So this commendation is good for him. I'm also saying that some of these rescue mission also played a key role. The Americans were here, some have left, and some missions are still on. Some things are classified. But at the end of the day,
are you sure they are still here? There's a report that they had not left.
No, I think some had left. Some are still here for some more training, and some things are classified. That the state will not tell us all of it. But
and don't forget
the most important thing is that we just want a safe country. That's all.
And don't forget the U.S. Congress bill that was passed recently on.
Yes, and an amendment to court aid. It hasn't been done. It's just an amendment.
But it has something to do with the concern over religious killings as well.
Exactly.
So it's not the entire federal government of the United States that is particularly pleased with the results that Nigeria is recording as far as security is concerned.
There are political interplays in all of it.
Exactly. So we must point that out.
And when we come back after this break, Ms. Ambrose Igboke joins us to review the paper. Stay with us.
Welcome back. And so Dr. Ambrose Igboke, Chairman, Guild of Public Affairs Analyst of Nigeria, Enugu State Chapter, joins us now for the newspaper review. Dr. Igboke, good morning. Welcome to the morning brief.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, let's take off from where we just stopped. I wonder if you have some thoughts about the commendation by U.S. President Donald Trump or for President Bola Tinubu on security efforts in the country. What are your thoughts?
Well, these are, just like one of you said, these are diplomatic niceties. Donald Trump has said that it's America first. So whatever he's doing, let us have it in mind. That is what will benefit America. So about this issue of Christian genocide and all those things are, yardstick that is using, premises that is using to get American interest. So some people have said it's about the gold mines, it's about the rare earth minerals and all those things that China is bringing. And also that some of those people, China are using it to stabilize the areas where these minerals are, so that villagers will, go where they can do whatever they want. So as it goes with the airports, we hope that these minerals can be exploited in a peaceful atmosphere. But some people don't want to pay royalties. Some people don't want to make it, legitimate, and that is why they are causing trouble over the place. So Donald Trump knows this. They have the satellite images, they have all those things, and they know what they are doing. So if he's using Christian genocide as a way of coming in, which is true, then it's valid. But let us also know that American interests must be protected first. So the airports are needed for, and it's good is commending it, but I hope that this will not be another premise for the federal government to relax and say we are doing well.
Speaking of interests, the Daily Trust picks up on a story that has got Nigerians talking in the last 24 to 48 hours. Of course, it was reported on Tuesday as well, but many more questions are now being raised over the insertion of 30 billion naira for palaces, places of worship. Yes, this is an addition. The one that came through 2 days ago didn't talk about palaces, but there's palaces now in the mix. And this has been discovered by Trachea, a unit of Budget Foundation. And some of these projects they find their way under, agricultural agencies and agencies that have very little to do with religious centers. What are your thoughts on this, Dr. Buke?
My thought has always been that these people at the top do whatever they wish to do because the citizens do not react appropriately. And we don't match energy for energy. So they'll keep on trying new things. They'll keep on trying new areas of all kinds of activities. And they will keep on trying to run 3 budget cycles at a go. And maybe the next one, they will run 4 budget cycles at a go and confuse us. And what they have also, this is taken from 2024 budget, this is 2025 budget in 2026. So they will keep on trying to because the people don't react adequately to what they are doing. So we murmur, we take sides ethnically, religiously, politically, and they keep us divided as citizens, and they keep doing these things. We are still reading out from the one that they said the deputy speaker voted some huge 1 billion naira for musical instruments. And when we were at it, we got a letter from the deputy speaker's office, and the letter was so I'm ashamed of the letter. At that level, see the kind of explanation that was issued. And then even the SUG of schools, I don't think they can write that kind of thing. Decide to link it to youth empowerment, because these people don't do it and they say nothing will happen. And truly, nothing happens. So when did it become the responsibility of federal government to innovate palaces? I mean, what would the other parts of the world be telling us? And so sometimes people go out of the country, do conferences, or go for workshop meetings, and then they look you in the face and say, you are not a serious country. Because of this kind of things. And that is why South Africa, all these things are linked to how your citizens are treated outside. And that is why South Africa has the country to be free to behave this way towards Nigerians. Because they know that we cannot even deal with our own problems internally, we cannot even take care of our own citizens internally. Then how 30 billion naira can be used for so many things, critical infrastructure. For example, till today, the eastern region is not connected to the national master rail plan. It is not there, it was cut off. The gas system was also cut off. This kind of thing can be used to correct that kind of anomaly. Imagine if we push this kind of thing to the teaching hospitals, and let's say even if it is 2-2 or 3-3 from each geopolitical zone. Imagine what will happen if critical areas like education, is being intervened and give this thing to tech fund and say tech fund, okay, use it to do the interventions that we do. But we are talking about palaces, we are talking about churches, and because these are the mundane things that will make people jump up, and many ways of also trying to see whether they could do away with some of this money. And it's a sad reality, but just watch what will happen. Nothing goes after this, our analysis and the rest, the citizens don't react, nothing works. They continue and they will come with another grand plan of discussion later.
Well, Dr. Buke, I mean, other papers have also had cause as well to lead with issues around the budget. But let's perhaps look at the New Telegraph, just so that we continue with that on that conversation. New Telegraph leads, it says, FG allocates 22.15 billion naira for traditional rulers palaces, renovations, and furnishings. There's some writers there. It says 11 palace projects valued at 5.85 billion naira have no identifiable locations. 46 MDAs without statutory mandates to build or renovate palaces to execute projects. ICPC uncovers over 908 ghost workers on FG's payroll. 908 ghost workers on FG's payroll. Police top 942 million naira paid as salaries. So I'm just wondering, what exactly are we dealing with here? It looks like obviously it's systemic corruption. You have said that Nigerians should perhaps question some of these revelations, but you know how we are. The budget is most times in thousands of pages, and they say that to hide information from the black man, you have to put it in a book. So I'm just wondering, do you think there's a way we can go about simplifying these budgets for Nigerians to maybe just take a look at simplify it so that they can look at it and have the patience to go through it, because it's in thousands of pages?
Well, for example, the media is doing its best, bringing out highlights and some of these things. The media is doing its work. Now, are other people doing their work? I said no. For example, agencies of government that are supposed to educate Nigerians are not doing their work. National Retention Agency, I don't know whether that one still exists. And some other agencies that are supposed to do their work. Now, the majority of this work is supposed to be done by the civil society organizations, the CSOs. Most of the CSOs are now beggars. Most of the CSOs are now, I don't even know if they are.
Oh dear, Mr. Buki, we hope we can get you back. Mr. Buki, can you hear us?
Doing nothing.
Oh, bye.
Yes, it's back.
Going on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you hearing now?
Yes, we lost signals with you for a few seconds, but go ahead.
The CSOs are no longer doing their job. They're just hanging around. They are not doing anything more. And so, because there are even some CSOs that are dedicated to budget tracking, what are they doing about it? They are the ones that are supposed to now break down these things and break down all these gray areas for Nigerians and press conferences for media people to amplify whatever they found out. But what are they doing? Every day we hear them talk about, there's fraud. Where is it? When are they? Then also, some of the CSOs that complained about opacity of the budget office and the Ministry of Finance and all those things, National Planning, that when they apply for Freedom of Information Act to access some of these details about budget, some of these CSOs have complained that they are not given, that they are not made avail of it, and when they want to complain to the government, that nothing is done. So it is a big issue, because the people who are supposed to actually create laws that will protect the budget are involved in this kind of malfeasance. So because at the end of the day, it's not the CSOs, it's not only the media, it's not only these people that can be able to stand against this kind of thing. The citizens are not backing the media. The citizens are not backing the CSOs. The citizens are just somewhere hoping that one angel Michael will come down from heaven and fight their battle. It doesn't work that way. And if you are not ready as citizens to mobilize, to protest, to picket, to do other things, recently, just like maybe 2 years ago when the electricity tariff was increased, I was hoping that there will be massive, a protest, which is a legitimate instrument in democracy. But when there was a protest in Abuja, I just saw people that are not up to 100 out of a population of 240 something million. Just 100 people carrying their placards. That's when I told myself, Nigerians are not still ready for the goodness of democracy. We are not still ready to confront our evil, that is the devil us. Therefore, we shall continue to languish this, because traditional rulers, and even the point of view of state governors, it's state governors that appoint traditional rulers and validate them as traditional rulers. What is the business of the federal government with policies of a traditional rulers? You can see that it's not written at play, and that goes on because we don't react.
Yeah, Mr. Agboke, I have taken time to look at budgets. I think the last was almost 3,000 pages. If you see some of the things that are inside that budget, anger is an understatement, but that's a question and a conversation for another day. There's even the disagreement over service-wide votes increase. The APC and Atiku are trading words, accusing him of not understanding the basic of public spending. But maybe that's an overstretch. He managed the Economic Council for 8 years. So, but the more important question I think he was asking was to the effect that how did he move from a certain amount to another amount within a certain period? I think that's a valid question that demands answers. This period, a lot of questions about finance, and I think this is how opposition should be. Ask questions that are important to Nigerians. So he's raised a lot of finance-related questions recently. I mean, Atiku Abubakar, and I think it's a good way to lead an opposition. The only thing government can do now is respond fact to fact, not a political conversation. But let's go to Guardian newspaper. 2027 presidential elections. INEC helpless as early campaigns flout Electoral Act fairness rules. Well, this, Mr. Ibuke, this has been a normal now. They started campaigning literally from day one. INEC is weak on this one. In fact, INEC is zero on managing how election campaigns work, in my opinion. Because they don't use the word vote, they use the word support as an escape route. What do you make of it?
Well, I think we have that idea because I think the internet cut me off.
Yes, the Guardian is leading with the fact that INEC looks helpless as early campaigns flout Electoral Act fairness rules. I'm saying that campaign started just after the election. So INEC is weak on this one. But what do you make on this of this?
Well, it makes me laugh when there's an election when they say there's an election camp in terms of 48 hours you start a timetable, you can start campaigning for presidential election from August, and start campaigning for governorship election from these dates. I think those are just terms on paper, and I don't think INEC should bother itself with that. INEC should bother more with the integrity of the ballot box, the integrity of voting, the integrity of transmission of results to make sure that it's authentic. That is what INEC should concern itself with, not whether parties start voting on time or whether, start a campaign on time or not. Because just as you observe, over the years, I think we have had 27 years of voting democracy since 1999. And the parties over already consulting. Will you say consultation for political parties and will you say it's campaign? Will you say consultation to wards, local government, at the regional level also, is it campaign? Will you say the speeches or the interviews held by party allies or party chieftains talking about the mandate of the president and the mandate of the governors? Are you saying that they are not campaigns? So unless INEC is saying that campaign is only when you print posters and you run jingles and you run adverts on TV, that is not the only campaign. That is just one tiny aspect of campaign. So I think INEC has not been able to enforce this over the years, and I think that should just discard it and let us know that election is all round time, because that is what they have been doing. So the jingles can still be restricted. You can say specifically that you don't want jingles or adverts on newspapers or online until a particular time, timeline. But that is the only thing that I was saying that you don't start campaign. Campaigns have been happening since 2023, immediately after swearing in. And so I didn't campaign like that. So INEC is not helpless. INEC is just, I think INEC is putting laws that it cannot even respect. And then they should stop in that absurdity.
Unfortunately, we haven't had that close interface with INEC, unlike under the last administration at INEC. And we continue to call out the new, INEC Commissioner on Voter Education to talk more with the press on some of these issues. There's so many questions to ask the Commission in terms of preparation, in terms of regulation. But we must anchor at this point. And thank you very much for coming on the program. Dr. Ambrose Igboke is the Chairman, Guild of Public Affairs Analysts of Nigeria, Enugu State Chapter. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be on the show.
And from here, we'll begin the first leg of our conversation. National security is still very much in our line of vision, and we're looking at one of the subnationals. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the program, everyone. Kebbi State gets our attention this morning on the program. So many areas to explore in terms of agriculture, security, and the infrastructure drive of the current administration in Kebbi State. And we are joined this hour by the Commissioner for Information and Culture, Kebbi State, Mr. Yakubu Ahmed, who joins us live on the program. Thank you indeed, Mr. Commissioner, for coming.
Thank you for having me
on the program. Welcome to Lagos, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Well, I know that your governor is doing a lot in terms of the infrastructure drive of Kebbi State. He's made some huge investments, trying to transform Kebbi State away from the narrative that it used to be. Maybe we should just begin from there. Where are we and how far so far?
Infrastructure-wise, I would like to begin with this. Before the coming of Governor Nasir as governor of Kebbi State, Kebbi has suffered lack of basic infrastructure to drive its economy. In most cases, it's either it's not there completely, or where it's there, it has aged in such a way that it no longer serves the people. He was elected as governor on the basis of his own personal popularity with the people of Kebbi State. At one time in the past, Kebbi had been described similarly as Nigeria's most backward state on account of lack of the basic amenities. So he campaigned on a number of promises, and because the people believed in him, because he was Kebbi's only governor who was born, bred, and battered in Kebbi State. He has shown compassion to the people, and he was elected on that basis. When he came on, as common as solar street lights were lacking in Benin Kebbi State capital, not to talk of other big towns and villages. He provided what we needed most then, road infrastructure, especially tertiary roads. He changed the face of Benin Kebbi State capital. He built more than 60 kilometers of roads within in the first 2 years in office. He also constructed 5 kilometers of roads in each of the 4 emirate headquarters in Kebbi State. Benin Kebbi, the state capital, had 60, I told you. Argungu emirate had 5. Yauri the same thing, Zulu the same thing. It's very important for Kebbi to have roads because, as I said earlier, number one, it encourages investment and it beautifies the town. So he did all that, and on top of that, he also, as of today, we have the best central motor park in Nigeria, the best. And he completed the state secretarial complex, whose construction was started since 2012 during the Lakinjari administration. Today, the 25,000 workforce of Kebbi State completely has packed into that secretariat. In the area of, because we have to take it sector by sector, but in terms of infrastructure, road infrastructure, school infrastructure, health infrastructure, the governor has changed the face of Kebbi State entirely. I would like to receive visitors because in the past, in Kebbi State, most of us were ashamed to receive visitors because question will be asked as to, is this Kebbi State? Is this state capital? But today, we are
ready for visitors now.
We are willing. If you are coming on me, please come over because we have stories to tell. Big stories about infrastructure development. In the health sector, when he came on board, we have 32 general hospitals in Kebbi State, in the 21 local government areas. He has rehabilitated the entire 32 of them. He's working on scores of comprehensive comprehensive PSC, private healthcare centers in Kebbi State. When he came to, our doctors in the employment of the state government were living in droughts on account of low wages. He promised to take care of that during campaigns, and as soon as he won election, he set up a committee to investigate why they were living. And the committee turned on a report that it's a result of low wages. He bridged the gap between what doctors earn in the state employment and at the federal level. He bridged that gap. And today, most of the doctors that left have returned. In fact, we are receiving many applications by doctors and other health workers to come back to Kebbi State. The story is such that, okay, I will not talk on education as well. At a go, Dr. Nazi employed 2,000 qualified teachers at one go to man the various schools in the state. He built 4 mega secondary schools. The intention is to introduce vocational training to our youths. In each of the 4 emirate headquarters, we have 1 mega secondary school that has already been finished. So we should not forget too that he has built many junior secondary schools. He has rehabilitated quite a number of them. He has bought instructional materials for schools. He has rehabilitated laboratories, built new ones. He is a teacher. He has taught in all the 21 home areas of Kebbi State.
I see there's a lot of you're a commissioner for information, so I don't expect anything less.
We have stories to tell.
Yeah. And there's a lot that, in fact, Kebbi is one of those states that is off the radar. By that, with greatest respect, I mean, when you compare Lagos, Rivers, Abuja, Kano, somehow people don't quickly turn to Kebbi. So it's important that you are here to highlight what the efforts are. Yeah. But I always look at the numbers. I always look at the monies. And I always challenge subnationals as to the viability of the state to be able to survive on its own without fact. I know it's federation money. So that simply means all of us own this money. It's not unique to anyone. So if we're now saying we want to do restructuring of the country like some of the people in the South are making the case for many years now, there are so many states that will go belly up if there's no FAC allocation. And one of those states is perhaps Kebbi State. I'm looking at the IGR, for instance, the budget 2020, what's that report? State of State report 2024. IGR that came to Kebbi was about 11 billion. FAC was about 67 billion. You can go on and show the increment if you compare the FAC allocation as against what the internally generated revenue are, because everything you're saying depends on money first and foremost. So what is the government doing to upscale internally generated revenue by looking inward? Let's just think and assume that there's no FAC allocation, because without FAC there's no Kebbi.
I agree with you totally, but let me tell you this story. If Kebbi were to be a country of its own, will survive, will be one of the richest. We have the potentials. We were looking for the right leadership to harness these potentials. Out of Kebbi's 21 local government areas, only 2 were without rivers crisscrossing into them. River Niger crisscrossed into Kebbi by over 100 kilometers. River Rima by over 230 kilometers. River Ka by over 250 kilometers. We have the resources that are waiting to be harnessed for the benefit of the country. Today, we have a lot of rice mills that have opened shop in Kebbi, that have established factories, and many more are trying to come in to invest. One of the rice mills, Wakot, came from India. They have invested heavily in Kebbi State. And as I said earlier, we have the potentials to feed this country with rice and wheat. In fact, as I said earlier, if Kebbi were to become a country of its own, believe me, sincerely, we will survive. What happened today, or what is happening today, in terms of...
you can't survive.
We can survive.
No, you can't.
We can't.
From your numbers, from your IGR.
No, let me tell you something. That is why I want to talk about...
So when we talk about survival, if we look at the numbers, so you give me data, I've given you data. You have to look at what your expenses are in terms of your current and your capital as against what you're generating without cost.
We're facing.
Okay.
We're talking about having the right leadership.
Okay.
It's about leadership now to harness resources properly in order to give better life to its people. Today, the last 3 years, we have elected a governor that has understood these issues. As I told you, he lived in Kebbi all his life. He's Kebbi's only governor who was born in Kebbi, who has lived in Kebbi, has never gone anywhere else. He has taught in Kebbi. He has understood the basis of our problems. He has begun to demonstrate that leadership by giving priority to agriculture. We are just starting, we are only 3 years in office. But if you come to Kebbi today, the farming institution, the industry has changed completely, because number one, he has been able to provide, this is about the 6th or 7th time, he's providing free fertilizer to our farmers. Kebbi is largely agrarian.
Okay.
Largely agrarian. You need to begin to change the way we do things, because if what we've been doing in the past has not worked, we should change it. And that is what the governor has done now. He's changing the way government handles agriculture. And that is to say, the farmers are beginning to bring in yields far better than in the past. If it is sustained, and that is why we're approaching election and we're telling people that this is what we have achieved and there's the need to continue with the policy. This is just 3 years in office. And if much we have achieved, I think we need to work more on providing the right leadership for our farmers to produce more food. Don't forget, one time we had this lake rice, Lagos Kebbi rice. It was working perfectly until politics came into it and it was stopped. If Lagos will trust Kebbi to produce the rice it will sell to its people, it means with the right leadership, with the right policy, with the right approach, Kebbi will be able to feed Nigeria entirely with the rice and wheat it needs. So it's about leadership, and the governor has started doing very well in that regard. Let me give you another example. When the governor came into office, we made a state that was boosting of 26 mineral deposits. 26. As of today, we have more than 37. As a result of the policy of the government to discover more, so that we begin to harness them properly.
But you know that some of these gains that you are signposting as the achievements of this administration will be minimal, or in fact non-existent, if the challenge of security is not solved. Last month there were reports about the killings of about 20 people, and just 2 days ago in Wasagu area of the state, I believe, there was a report of the killing of a farmer. And Kebbi also, for about last year, was a centerpiece of the challenge of insecurity, with the kidnapping of those children, with the news of the spreading of the Lakrawa sect. So I'd like to know what deliberate efforts that the state government is making to rein in on this challenge of insecurity, perhaps in partnership also with the armed forces, because there were also reports of the targeting of security installations and even the Nigerian customs, officials of the Nigerian customs in Kebbi State.
Yeah.
So
You're
talk
right.
to us about challenge of insecurity.
Yeah, you're right. But I want to take us back. You're talking about 20 people being killed at a time. We came from a background where we've been having killings of 100 people at a go before that coming civilization. 20 people, 50 people, sometimes more than 100. Today we're talking about 20, we're talking about 1. Let me tell you what the governor did when he...
Even if one person were killed.
Well, I understand. I'm telling you, we're in a situation where 100, more than 150 have been killed at a go in Kebbi State, in parts of Kebbi State. So what I'm trying to say is that if we've been having hundreds and we're having 1, 2, 3 now, it means something is being done. The thing is changing. Let me just give you this small aspect of it. When the governor was campaigning for election, one of the things he promised to do was to deal with the security problem. And when he became governor, he interfaced with top echelon of the security agencies, and he said that the strategy must be changed, that he will be ready to give all the support required in order to achieve that. And as a result of what he did, strategies were changed. Some very sensitive and critical deployments were made in parts of Kebbi State, especially by the military and the police. The military made some sensitive critical deployments of forward operation bases in parts of Kebbi State. The police too did about the same thing with their mobile police, and at that time the thing completely changed. The first year the governor spent in office, we had a bumper harvest as a result of the changes that were made. And don't forget, as I said earlier, we had situations where markets were closed as a result of consistent and persistent attack. We had situations where farmers couldn't go to their farms. As a result, today it has changed. That is not to say we are not having challenges. We are having challenges, but Governor Karongwandu has invested more money than any governor in the northwestern part of the country by supporting the security agencies, by purchasing. At the last count, he bought more than 100 Hilux vans for them, thousands of motorcycles. Don't forget, we have the army, we have the police, we have the DSS, we have the hunters, we have the vigilantes, and he has provided support. Whatever is supposed to be done by a governor in order to give the support required to deal with this situation, the governor's office has done much, much more than that. He's always on his toes. He's always working on that. But don't forget, we are achieving successes now. In the last 2-3 weeks, a lot has happened. We are experiencing less attacks now, and we believe as a result of the changes that have been made, this will continue. And by in the next couple of months, we'll begin to see these positive changes. We are happy with it because it is showing signs that the policies the governor and government is introducing will lead us to a situation where farmers will continue to go to their farms, traders will, because Kebbi is largely agricultural.
Mr. Commissioner, Kebbi borders very high-risk regions, states, Zamfara, Sokoto and Niger.
And we have Niger on the other side.
And there have been issues around security in those regions, those borders. Confirm for us, is there any community under siege to Boko Haram terrorists or any terrorists at all in Niger, in Kebbi State?
We'll be having in Kebbi State, as of today, we do not have one single cell of any group of bandits or insurgents in the southern part of the state where it was very, very prominent. What happened, we have borders...
Are you sure of that, Mr. Commissioner?
Let me
What about the Lakra?
I will come to that. On the southern flank, that is the Zulu Emirate area, where we border Sokoto, Zamfara, and Niger State. What is happening in Kebbi State today? Bandits infiltrate from these states into Kebbi, perpetrate their evil, and turn back to their cells in Sokoto, Zamfara, or Niger State. We do not have any single cell of bandits. I agree, on the other part, on the side of Kebbi, we have the Lakora group. But if it's taken time, nothing has happened there because of the strategies that have been employed by the government.
So in addition to that security concern, because it's important, security, finance, all of these are proper elements to drive good governance.
Yeah.
We also understand there's a set of young boys who were used by politicians who are now troubling the state. I'm sure as Commissioner you're aware of this information.
Yeah, you're talking about the so-called Malan group.
Yes.
Okay, let me give you some highlights about it. We've been having problems with some desperate politicians in Kebbi State who are trying to cash in on this insecurity matter as the election is approaching in order to make some political capital out of it. They talked about the emergence of a new terror group in Kebbi State by the name, say, Malam. But fortunately for us, the police and DSS conducted painstaking investigation, and it was discovered, and a report was made, that what was called, say, Malam group was essentially a group of young men in Argungu Emirate who are manipulating their smartphones to blackmail politicians and people into giving them money. Already arrests have been made, and very soon they'll be prosecuted. So, you see, the problem we're facing in Kebbi today is that while government is working tirelessly in order to deal with this problem, we have political elements that are out with this mischievous story of insecurity in order to scare people, in order to clear ways for them to win election. Right. Don't forget too, again, we dealt with another problem that you would like to know. The UNICEF came up with a report that children are dying in Kebbi State by 130 deaths every year because of malnutrition. We challenged them. At the end of the day, UNICEF came up with a report that they were using data of 2018. Today in 2026. Well, what I'm saying essentially is that while government is dealing with all the problems we are facing as a people, we have politicians that are not bothered about the consequences, unpalatable consequences of these problems.
Let me quickly get this one in. You talked about meeting an infrastructure deficit, when Governor Nasir Idris came in. Isn't that an indictment on a former governor who is a member of your party?
No, it's not.
That's on the one hand. On the other hand, if the developments that you are citing are really there and there are things that people can hold on to, why do we have mass influx of northern youths into the southwestern part of the country, and they're coming from not just Kebbi State, from different parts of the country? That means that the challenge of insecurity is still very real, and the north is uninhabitable for northern youths, and that means that there is the serious issue of unemployment.
The influence of people from north to the south predates the insurgency. It's entirely a different matter altogether. But again, it's economical. It's economics, I agree. Then we talked about the right leadership. When we talked about inducting the last government, no. We're saying that they have done their very best, but there are rooms by the time we came into office for improvement. That has been improved. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that while we talked about potentials in the north, we talked about the right leadership, we talked about the insecurity that is taking us back, and we are talking about what the government at the center is doing to deal with this problem and what the state government are doing to deal with the problem. In the past few weeks and few months, I agree, there was an upsurge of banditry everywhere, especially in some parts of the north. Don't forget the Sahel too, in the countries in the Sahel, as well as the same thing. In Mali, they lost, a whole Minister of Defense was killed in an attack. In Niger, the same thing happened. In Burkina Faso, the same thing happened. In Nigeria, I want to believe that in the last few weeks, we have seen a lot of positive developments in terms of dealing with this insurgency.
No, we're talking about Kebbi today.
When we say Kebbi, I want to relate with what is happening in Kebbi.
Well, there's a lot we can explore with you, Commissioner, but we'll totally run out of time as far as the downside risks.
We're running out of time.
Thank you.
We have stories to tell, honestly.
Because there's the issue of the opposition as well. Abubakar Malami, there's reports that it looks like your governor is scared that Abubakar Malami is coming, and that's why something that
I will invite you to Kebbi. When you come, you see the
to muscle the opposition.
When you come, you see the story as it is in Kebbi State. Malami does not offer any challenge to us at all. Let me tell you something. Believe me, it does not.
Because the governor suspended the APC party chairman just last month.
That was for a different reason.
For anti-party activities.
Not anti-party as such. Nothing related with Malami issue. It was an inter-party problem that happens everywhere. But on the issue of Malami, let me tell you something. He offers no challenge at all to us. We don't in Lagos as elsewhere, well, because of the stories we begin to see that there are no challenges.
So you feel that Governor Idris will win this election?
Why not?
Okay.
Why not? By midday, the story will be different.
Don't be in a hurry.
We're in a hurry. We are Kebbers, we're in Kebbi. You know what is happening?
This is politics, and I'm sure you
have a right to say it.
No, at the end of the day, we'll come back here and talk about it.
All right. No, we're always here.
Yeah. We'll come back here to talk about why Malami failed.
No problem. What's your uncle at this point?
We didn't talk about the number of out-of-school children in Kebbi State as well.
This number of out-of-school children, let me tell you, we're talking about the issue of the leadership, driving the economy, taking policies that have started 3 years ago. It's continuing. We're out 3 years ago.
We're out of time.
Commissioner for Information and Culture, Kebbi State, Mr. Yakubu Ahmed, thank you indeed for stopping by our studios here in Lagos. We wish you all the best.
To have more time to talk.
I hope so. Well, this is the morning brief. Let's take a moment. When we come back, we turn the spotlight to another state, this time in southern Nigeria. We'll be back in just a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back.
back. Let's switch gears now to Rivers State. A very disturbing news emanated from that state about, I think, 48 hours ago, where we understand a young man was killed. I understand he's the commander of the Omoku branch of the Onelga Security and Peace Advisory Committee, OSPAC. In that particular area. Onelga is Ogba, Igbeman, Ndoni local government area of the state. The gentleman, Ozomena Stephen Wokocha, was killed by some gunmen alongside some women in that particular state. This area is a very volatile area when it comes to election season, and it's very disturbing to see this happen yet again. I remember the incident of, I think, 2018 or so. I think that date is correct, when a gentleman called Don Juan is now dead, killed by security forces, where there was a New Year attack on some worshippers, killing tens of them, with another plan to take out another hundreds of them before the security agencies were able to trace him to southern eastern states and brought him to justice. So let's bring in our guest. Is the governorship candidate of the PRP, Nature Kebbi. Kebbi joins us on the program. We understand that this gentleman is also the youth leader of PRP in Onelga local government area. Honorable Kebbi, thank you for coming on the program.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your friend.
So, it's very sad. I have visited Omoko. I know Omoko not too well, but at least I visited, I think, twice, where they have the oil facility. But this place seems to be always volatile when it comes to violence, when it comes to especially election season and all of that. But we've heard the story, but I think let's maybe take a track of what our reporter was able to glean from, I think, the wife or so. And then we'll come back to ask you the question, because this is a member of your political party, but not just that, he also leads a local security outfit in the state, in that local government.
Yeah.
In search of our daily bread. Towards evening time, afternoon, evening, I received a shocking news that unknown gunmen came to Oba Road and shot him dead. Aside with 4 other women, all of them are dead. My husband now is lying in mortuary. Bless me. People should help me and find vengeance for my husband.
Yesterday, as of 5 minutes after 5 p.m., we received call that some hoodlums drove into the community and started shooting at persons that they met sitting down in a joint. And immediately we rushed down. He happened to be one of our zonal commander by name Comrade Ozimela Mukocha Buski. They normally call him Buski. So we met him lie dead with 4 other women, innocent women that they killed that yesterday. We tried seeing how we can save their life, but the injury was so bad that they couldn't make it.
So that's the story of the young man that was killed about 48 hours ago. Is the commander of OSPAC security outfit and also a youth leader, a political youth leader in Onelga for the PRP. The governorship candidate of the PRP is our guest, Mr. Kebbi. Mr. Kebbi, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much once again. Good morning.
What do you know about this story besides what we've heard from his comrade and his wife?
Okay, like you early mentioned, Onelga, almost precisely, has been on the spotlight. They've had several issues with the young men in that environment. Some of them are gang-related issues. Until we visit the family ourselves as a political party in Rivers State, which will happen by tomorrow, the state executive of PRP have mobilized themselves to meet with the local government executive of PRP in Onelga to go and condole with the family. It is at that point to be able to actually understand what necessitated that kind of killing that affected 3 innocent women. And as it were, we are just a political party. We don't have the tools to carry out critical investigations. And so that's why we are calling on the Nigerian police, the DSS, to do the needful to investigate the killing of this young man who has been very, very committed and very, very loyal to the party over the years.
But some would say, why did this happen at this point in time? Campaigns are yet to get fully into gear, and besides, perhaps, if there was any political party that was a threat to the ruling party in Rivers State, it would certainly not be the PRP. How do you react to this?
Okay, right now, I don't know how informed you are about the happenings in Rivers State today. If you take proper statistics, evidence-based research has shown that there are no other political parties in Rivers State that are standing alone apart from the PRP, as it were. You can do your investigations. Other political parties have joined the Rainbow Coalition, and the Rainbow Coalition is made up of APC and PDP as coordinators of it. And so PRP is the only political party that is standing out, as it were. And if you take proper statistics also of the candidates contesting this election in 2027, you discover that the PRP candidate is the only candidate that does not have a godfather, does not have, a boss that has been in the political, environment in the past 20 years. So, but gradually the political parties begin to gather momentum, and people are beginning to look away from the usual, because they can't continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. And so as a matter of fact, PRP has begun to gain, the support of the people of Rivers State, considering the kind of candidate that is now representing the political party in Rivers State in this time.
So are you saying that this is politically motivated, this killing?
Yes, I believe that it's politically motivated. Because this youth leader, during the last election we had in Onega, when we had one of the most vibrant youth leaders in Onega, Kingsley Ogumike, contesting for the local government position in Onega, this young man was all over the place. He was very active, campaigning for him. And the person we gave the opportunity to run fly ticket in Onega has been 2 times Omok Youth President. He has been 1 time OSPAC commander. Fighting for the security and the peace of the place. So he had naturally an organic support. And the youths generally all over the world constitute a large number of the citizens of any community, of any state, of any nation. And so the entire youth gave him the support, being mobilized by Ozomela Wokocha, who is lying on state now.
So just to ask, before he joined forces to work with you and the PRP, which party did he work for?
Okay, I don't have that details, as it were. I'm not sure of where he was. I'm not sure where his alliance was. Some of these young men, because of what has happened over the time in the state, they are just partyless, and that's why the PRP is now gaining the kind of support is gaining in Rivers State. So much has happened in this state over the years. So many young people have lost them in the process of politics and supporting political leaders. And so many of them are just without, political party, as it were. Some of them are not so comfortable with the fact that, a particular, ethnic group continue to rule the state. So it's making them actually not have option, as it were. And so that's why you see the PRP is now becoming the platform where everybody is gathering to say, it's time for redemption. We are happy that this party, the name is Redemption. And if it's redemption, it means redemption. That means Rivers people need to be redeemed from hunger, from intimidation, from insecurity. Yeah.
So I had to ask that question because I was trying to probe to know, but I felt that for someone who worked very closely with you and who was a commander, you have spoken so well of him. You've spoken how passionate he was, about your party and trying to mobilize for you. So I felt that you should know perhaps the party he was before he joined the PRP. But my next question to you would be, where does this leave you and your candidacy and what you're fighting for, are you going to go ahead? Are you going to go ahead to want to contest the elections? Because you have acknowledged that there's a coalition, the Rainbow Coalition, which you can see that alliance between the APC and PDP. So does this threaten you in any way? Do you feel afraid for your life, or are you going to continue to want to become the governor of Rivers State?
No, I'm not afraid. You know, from the angle I'm coming from, it is a public information today that in our generation, people no longer believe the God factor. But I keep asking them, if you don't believe there is a God that supervises the universe, that looks and cares after the souls he has created, why do you still have night come? Why do you still have the day break effortlessly? And so I'm coming from that background of faith. I am a man of faith. I believe strongly that I have the covering of God. I'm protected by him. And so I'm going all out because I'm not here all by myself. Now before this time, I had something I was committed to. And it gave me joy. It gave me peace. When I say young man, delivered from the street, set free from captivity, set free from drug addiction, I'm excited. I've been doing that for the past 10 years. It's almost a decade. And so I have something that gives me joy and has been sustained over the years. But I'm here because the youth of Rivers State are saying, oh, if you could be doing this with the little resources you've been having, you've been helping young people, accommodating them, taking care of them, showing them the right path, you could be a better leader for us. So we are standing in faith. And I want you to know that over the years, I don't know how historical you are about God, but I've just made you understand that he exists. And several times he looks for men that he's going to use to express himself. I believe that I'm that man in this season and in this time in River State. Look at the case of what they call him, Moses. What happened? He was a weak man. He didn't have anything, yet God used him. Look at the case of our brother Joshua. Look at the case of David. You can mention so many of them that God manifested his strength and his wisdom through their life. Now talk about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Oh, he was foolish. He came to die. And when they killed him, what was the outcome? Men were set free. The blind could see. The dead came back to life. So I'm from that perspective. That's my consistency. That is the authority that I carry. And I'm trying to let you know that at no point in time and in history where darkness has been able to overshine the light. The light shines in darkness, and darkness comprehended it not. And I carry that life and that consciousness. So that's the boldness. That's the boldness. I'm going all out. I'm going all out. I'm going all out to contest this election. I'm not backing down no matter what happens. Yes, sir.
You know, as people are listening to you, they may think that this is a preaching session, a lot of Bible and quoting and references, but that's the person you are. But let's stay with the politics for a moment. And yesterday, we saw, I think that it was yesterday that similarly, the governor of Rivers State has now officially said he's joined the Rainbow Coalition. He's supporting Okechinda for governor because I think this is the first time he's publicly saying some of these things. He's only supported the president, so that's not hidden information. But now the dynamics is getting clearer that he's told himself, okay, this is game over for me as far as the projection of becoming governor, at least in the next election, is concerned. How do you receive that information? Because you're from the Ogoni area. I'm not sure whether that's Riverine, because there's part of Ogoni that's Riverine, that's a border area. People felt that it is not equity if the Peter Odili had ruled for 8 years, and then Rotimi Amechi ruled for 8 years, who's an Ikwere man. He's from Ikwere local government area. Nyesom Wike left in 2023 after 8 years. He's from Obiakwa local government. And now just one term of 4 years of an Ijaw man is taken away from him, or whatever the politics they play, and another Ikwere man is coming up again from Obiakwa local government. How do you receive all of this? How do you want to manage these dynamics?
Okay, like you rightly analyzed and pointed out the obvious. Like I said before, that is why PRPs begin to gain momentum. Now, you see, everybody will not accept injustice. In fact, as a matter of fact, the universe is constantly on the path of justice. The analysis you have given is the height of injustice, as it were. I have never seen football as somebody that has willpower from the beginning, from the onset. his antecedents, his character has shown that he will not be able to stand on his own to control the state and to be led by his instincts and his own wisdom. And this is one of the things that Rivers people are going to stand against and resist in the forthcoming election. They have seen the disadvantage of someone picking somebody up who was never on the streets, who was never in politics, who does not understand the suffering of the people, come to represent them. What has played out over the years, looking at his character, it shows that he's self-centered. He does not care about those who follow him and those who support him. That means there's going to be a crack, as it were, in his own camp. But 99.9% of the people who have followed him have now become enemies of the minister, the FCT minister, as it were. And so many of them were loyal servants of the FCT minister. And by the time Sim began to have issues with the FCT minister, they joined sides with Sim and declared the FCT minister their enemy. What is going to be their stand, as it were? Now that he has gone back to the FCT minister, has pledged his loyalty. If you listen to his statement, you know that he's confused to an extent. He called that Rainbow Coalition Party. There's no party that's called Coalition Party. It shows that he's still not stable. It shows that he's doing what he's doing under duress, under pressure. And the question I want you to ask yourself and Nigerians is, what is going to happen to the people who have been with him? What is going to happen to the crowd who have had issues with the honorable minister, that he was intimidating him, they've insulted the minister, they've abused him? What is going to happen to those set of people? They won't have an option than to support a young man that they know has been positive, a young man that has been committed. Now from Corner, if you know Corner Waterside is the waterside where you can go to Popo, in 20 minutes. You can go to Cameroon from that waterside. So I'm from the river side of the southeast Netra district.
Oh dear.
Oh yeah, I know. Corner leads.
Problem.
Yeah, I don't know network issue. Corner leads to my mother's village, so I'm very familiar with that. Take care.
With that particular area.
Yes.
Yes, back.
Yeah, Nature. Conclude your thoughts. With the network distorted your distance.
Okay, I was saying that the movement of the governor of Rivers State to join and the Rainbow Coalition is actually an advantage to political parties like our party. Now, the reason why I'm making that statement of fact is because at the time they had this loggerhead among them and crisis among them, so many people who were with the honorable minister became enemies to the honorable minister and began to support, the governor of Rivers State, Sim Fubara. But now that he has carried them to a battlefront and has left them halfway, what do you think is going to be their fate? Are they still going to be comfortable to join him, to go back to the man that he has carried them to go and fight over the years? The answer is no, because they won't have the kind of security he has to protect themselves. They won't have the kind of covering he has to protect themselves. So they'll be looking at options, to also, position themselves politically in the state. And that gives us, the opportunity to welcome them and receive them, to support, the redemption move. It is a movement of redemption. And look, I'm always speaking from experience. If I could have that experience of redemption, that means the state can have that experience of redemption. So that is my state. That is my take on his move. It is a blessing in disguise to those of us who are men of the spirit. Thank you.
Well, if you are banking on the loopholes within the Rainbow Coalition family in Rivers State and the fact that your region has missed an opportunity through Sim Fubara to govern for another 8 years, and you are from that part of the country, do you have the requisite war chest to rival what the Rainbow Coalition parades in the power of incumbency and the undisputable support of the Minister of the FCT to win that election? With a candidate who is from Upland now in River State yet again. Can you rival that very real possibility of victory for the Rainbow family?
Yeah, I just made a statement of facts to you. I told you that the universe, when I mean the universe, I mean all that is created by the Almighty God. They are constantly on the side of justice. And so it's going to be a mystery, as it were, that they will become a coalition, and there will be a coalition, there will be rainbow, and at the end of the day, to amount to nothing. Do you understand me? I am not standing here to tell you that I have the financial strength or muscle to contend with them in any front. Because I've never been a councillor, neither have I been a chairman, neither have I been in the assembly before. But I have the spirit that created the entire universe. And it does not have limitation, there's nothing it can do. I will not be here to tell you all the details of how much of him I've known. Jeffrey will begin to preach. He's a preaching sermon. No. But I want you to know that he rules the affairs of men, and he's a master of strategies. He's a master strategy.
Well, totally. I don't know, network didn't allow you to go on. But we must thank you so much. Totally out of time, Mr. Nature. Maybe your last opportunity. Yeah, thank you so much. But we commiserate with your party and commiserate with the family of the lady, the widow of this young man and the entire family and OSPAC in general for this very painful loss. We hope that this chapter will not open up yet again in Omoko, because quite notorious for these kinds of things, and I thought this was over many years ago, but it looks like there's a resurgence. Nature Dumale Kebbi is the governorship candidate of the PRP in River State. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you. God bless them.
We'll take a break, and when we come back after this break, we're going to talk agriculture. Focus on cocoa. It's a big industry. Nigeria is now beginning to talk about value addition. That's what we'll explore with an expert. Stay with us.
Welcome back. So let's get into the agriculture sector in Nigeria, which, by the way, accounts for about 23% of GDP. How can that number be shored up, and what measure of investment goes into the production and, of course, processing and industrialization of the cash crop component of Nigeria's agriculture sector? And that's where we're looking into cocoa value addition this morning. And joining us on the program is Mr. Alex Omagumi. He's the CEO, Host Place Group and Xilex Holding, an agro-industrialist, policy analyst, and of course a real estate developer. He joins us from our Abuja studio this morning. Good morning, Mr. Omagumi. I hope I got your name correctly.
Yeah, you got the name correctly. Good morning, everyone.
Yes, thank you. So let's begin with what is the evident contradiction with Nigeria exporting roughly 300,000 tons of cocoa annually, but exporting perhaps quadruple that number in finished products, what you would call cocoa preparations. There has been a cocoa summit, put together by the federal government recently, in which there was a clarification that there were no plans to ban cocoa export. But really, how can that move from, a mere conferencing and talk shop to action to transform the fortunes in the area of cocoa value addition?
Thank you very much for that question. I've always been a strong advocate that for Africa or Nigeria to truly progress, we must start to toe the line of value addition. And the cocoa summit that happened in Abuja, where countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, and Ivory Coast came together to sign the Abuja Declaration, which is looking at implementation of policy along the line of value addition, rather than just exporting our raw materials. The policy itself is in the right direction, but policies alone can end up as mere statements if not properly implemented, and has got a way of affecting the value chain. The ministry coming out to clarify that is in the right direction, but does not take away the fact that this is a policy that we need to transform the agricultural sector and the value additional sector of Nigeria. The only thing is that they have tortoise-wise that you cannot just announce policies without giving a clear implementation framework and transition period, because these policies, when announced, can have a way of affecting the farmers in which the policies are meant to enhance their livelihood. Thank you.
All right. So in Nigeria, there are about 12 states that produce cocoa, I mean on a large scale, but about 6 of them are like the top producing states: Ondo, Cross River, Osun, and I can't remember the other 3 now. Let me speak about Cross River because I'm familiar. That's my state. In fact, about 4 local governments in Cross River states: Ikom, Boki, Obubra, and Etum, are large-scale producing local governments in Cross River states. And so I've had cause to visit plantations because my father even has many plantations. So there's this instability in the market. 2 years ago, for instance, the cocoa farmers were smiling to the bank. In fact, I know someone who left Lagos to go back to the farm as a result of the market and how it was really very buoyant and all of that. So but it's the next year after that, I think just last year, it fell drastically. So the issues around policies, I think, is really very essential. But how can we stabilize all of this? Because for those who are at the bottom level, the farmers at the very grassroots, they're making a lot of investments and all of that, but in the end, it looks like they're at a loss. So how can we indeed put some sort of stability in the market?
Yeah, the government must also implement policies that protect the farmers. Last year, the cocoa sector witnessed a surge in prices, and the market collapsed completely, which affected the farmers. So imagine farmers who before then were farming other cash crops like tomatoes and pepper, who saw the increments in the cocoa sector, abandoned what they were farming previously and went into the cocoa sector with high expectations, only for the market to collapse. And this is why the Abuja Declaration is very important, because Africa, Nigeria, Cameroon, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire contributes to about 70% of the world cocoa value chain, cocoa production rather, but we only harness about 8 to 9% of that entire value chain, which means that we as African countries that produce this cocoa, especially Nigeria, do not have a say in dictating what the world prices are. And therefore, we do not have better policies to protect our farmers back home.
So what are those policies, based on your expectation, that would retain not just, the very invaluable measure of that cocoa, but also would retain the labor, the workforce that would ensure the processing of cocoa into finished products here in Nigeria and indeed in Africa?
Yes, so speaking on that, that's where the value addition comes in. The cocoa processing is in stages. You have got the processing stage, you have got the intermediate stage, and the final end products. And in these products, when we export just the cocoa beans, we are not just exporting our natural resources, we are exporting our jobs, we are exporting factories that should have been created here, we are exporting knowledge transfers, and technical expertise that should have retained here in order for us to capture a larger percentage of the value chain and to make us globally competitive enough to dictate what the world market should be. So if these policies are implemented in the rightly, this will also help us protect the farmers who are the center of this value chain.
You haven't quite outlined the policies. I'm waiting to hear you enumerate those policies. What are those interventions specifically?
Sorry, come again?
What are those policies? I've been waiting to hear you enumerate those policies, those interventions that you require, the sector requires.
The sector requires policies that the Honorable Minister of Agriculture announced in the Cocoa Value Addition Summit on behalf of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that Nigeria would stop exporting just our cocoa beans and would implement policies to safeguard the value additional sector of the value chain. And when that is done, those policies would, of the value addition, for us to retain the value addition in our country here, would provide jobs for factory workers, quantity surveyors, engineering, and expertise. So the policy framework itself is the value addition, that we cannot continue to export just the cocoa beans, but we must start to go from an export economy to a processing and manufacturing economy, whereby our cocoa beans can now be processed into cocoa beans, cocoa cake, cocoa liquor for pharmaceutical purposes as well.
I'm not sure how much you get to, in terms of advocacy, get to interact and interface with those at the grassroots. I'm a bit really very concerned about them, because I know they are faced with a whole lot of challenges. There's the transportation challenge, for instance, how to bring these harvests from the farms and plantations to, the cities. So I'm not sure how much your job enables you to interface with them. There's also the I think it's called black pot disease, and issues around banned pesticides and all of that. But what are the farmers saying to you?
The farmers are currently unhappy with the market prices. And then as private individuals and government institutions in the sector, it is important that we support the local farmers in order for this value chain to survive, by providing them with incentives that they need in order for them to continue their farming, especially in this difficult period, providing them with the seedlings they need, fertilizers, the puddle bags to protect the cocoa beans from being affected by insects. And then also, one other thing that the government has done is to start establishing special agro processing zones, which will bring the processing facilities and infrastructure closer to the production areas, closer to the farm, to avoid post-harvest losses, which account for about 30 to 50% of our agricultural output.
So in the area of post-harvest losses and the need to, convert much of, our agricultural produce in the area of cocoa into finished products, from where you stand, what is the measure of capacity in that sector for processing and retention of that, measure of annual revenue that goes into exporting of finished products? What is the capacity, and what interventions would you be recommending for the private sector to come into this particular space?
Sorry, come again, please. I lost you.
What is the measure of the capacity for processing of cocoa finished products in Nigeria in order to reduce the revenue that we expend in the importation of cocoa preparations, cocoa finished products into the country?
In terms of revenue, the cocoa processing, the cocoa crop is an industrial crop, and it's a time. The cocoa processing plants are cash intensive. So in terms of revenue, the private sector has a role to play in coming in, and also the DFIs also has a role to play in coming in bringing in patient capital and blended finance for us to be able to harness the value addition gap, for us to be able to process here and retain as much values as possible, rather than just exporting our cocoa beans and importing them finished products back into the country at higher value.
Begin to wind down. Let's talk about what particularly, I think the Guardian newspaper did a yeoman's job in explaining post-harvest losses, which accounts for a lot of monies being thrown away literally because of preservation, storage, and silos. Within the industry that you play in, how much of that is available, and what record do you have, if you have it available, that will lose to these post-harvest losses when it comes to cocoa?
Nigeria loses about 37% to post-harvest loss in cocoa. And totally we lose about between 30 to 50% of our agricultural output, which amounts to about 30 to 40 million metric tons of food wastage. And that leads to about 5 trillion naira wastage that should have gone into the economy.
All right. Well,
Well, we must thank you indeed. By every level, it has been a productive conversation. We hope that we can turn, our wealth, our cash produce into wealth in this country, especially with cocoa. Mr. Alex Omagumi is the CEO, Host Place Group and Zelex Holding, agro-industrialist, and of course, a real estate developer. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
all right, so
let's get to some of the things that you've been talking about.
A lot you've been talking about. So let's begin. Where do we begin? Let's begin with Fubara, please. Got a seminar in Fubara River State yesterday at an event, I think, that talks about his now endorsement or support for the Rainbow Coalition. So Seminar Fubara is the governor of River State who couldn't get a ticket on the platform of the APC, despite the fact that he wanted it.
You had to add that.
Yeah, he couldn't get it. Not that he voluntarily
the one-term governor.
Yeah, he couldn't get the ticket. That's what is what it is. He wanted to run for governor.
Yeah,
he wanted to run.
He went for the screening. He went for the screening and came out disappointed.
Yeah, he has a lot of history. He's the first governor in Nigeria, at least let me say River State. So that has an impeachment move has been made against him 3 times in about 3 years. So he has a lot of history around him. But let's take a listen to the governor of River State, Similar Fubara, who has now endorsed the Rainbow Coalition led by Nyesom Wike, and also endorsed the candidate of the coalition, which is Okechinda, who is a member of the APC.
We have made peace in the state, and we have a total, and I am supporting our Rainbow Party, our Rainbow Coalition. President Ahmed Bola Tinubu is our president and is the one we are supporting. Okechinda is the governorship candidate that I am supporting, and anybody who believes in me will support. And every candidate that is under the rainbow. For those of you who are saying, Fubara, hey, let's stay, we want to collect something before we run. There's nothing to collect. I am already in the family. I've gone back to our family. So please, wherever you are, give your total support to that coalition. We need to move forward. The time of war is over. It's time of peace. And this peace is taking us to another level. What you lose here, you gain in another place. That is about life. So please, I want this to be made clear to everybody. So don't go anywhere and say you are supporting Fubara. No. My position is this, and I've said it here and clearly for everyone to hear. If you are not hearing well, use cotton wool or open your ear and let it enter well. I am not party to anything that will bring any form of disunity in this state. I've done what I need to do. For now, we're moving forward. Let me, on this note, thank everyone who has made it to this.
Sounds like an anticlimax. Jeffrey.
Fuba, with greatest respect, is a political neophyte. He knew in the game, but you can give him credit for the last 3 years. He's tried to build stature, but he's not been able to build stature. He took on a war that he could not win. He has his points. In that war between him and Nyesom Wike, apparently both have their own faults. So people blame Nyesom Wike on one hand, Governor Fuba also has his own fault on one side. So, but at the end of the day, Nyesom Wike has demonstrated that I'm the master of this game as far as this state is concerned. And Fuba is now forced to be what he is today. You know the people I pity the most, guys, are his supporters, because I don't know I'm going to be supporting if I'm a politician. Because the first signal I saw that was very worrying for his supporters that I watched was during the emergency rule when the president brokered some peace during the emergency rule, and then they wanted to conduct an election for local government areas. Guess what happened? He met with his supporters. And one of the things he told them was like, when it comes to these local government elections, just forget about it. So people won't follow Governor Fuba. What exactly is in it for them? They could not get local government. They could not get chairman, what do you call it now? Appointment in MDAs of the states. They could not get ticket to run for any platform of their political party, of the political parties. The one that are incumbent all lost their seat.
Some were screened out.
So, the politics of Governor Fuba is a different politics. Well, it's not an experienced politician with the greatest sense of respect.
With the greatest sense of respect to Governor Fuba, he actually put up a fight. Remember,
he lost the fight too.
Yes, that is clear. He lost the fight. You remember when he was, talking tough, at the height of the struggle between him and his political godfather. So he did put up a fight. But we know who we're dealing with here. We know somebody who has held the political structure, so tightly, when I say political structure, of the PDP, and has in fact, controlled that structure to the extent that the PDP is in tatters today and cannot field, a credible, clear candidate, so to speak, where one is saying we're going with this, another is saying we're going with this. But for the governor of River State, when he says he is going back to his family, we know that he has defected to the All Progressives Congress some months back prior to this time. So is he saying he's going back, to queue behind his political godfather and has submitted, everything to him? What are the more important lessons that we should be learning from this particular experience? The overbearing influence of godfatherism in Nigerian politics, and that's why I say he was surrounded. There was no way he could have, held that leadership tight enough to carry his supporters all the way. So he was surrounded. We remember where we're coming from, the fight for the local government structure in River State, the declaration of a state of emergency, for which the president clearly supported his minister of the Federal Capital Territory. What was it that was at the heart of this fight? We've heard many Rivers leaders say it is our wealth, our commonwealth, that is at the heart of this fight. So another lesson that we're learning is that the commonwealth of the people sometimes is the political pot of soup between godfather and political godson. And this only came into the open because there was a fight. So there are so many instances where the commonwealth, the resources of the people, is shared, behind closed doors between governors. Those are the lessons that we should be learning from this experience. And how do Nigerians demand accountability of this, equitable sharing of the commonwealth of the people, such that we get the dividends of democracy. So it is an anticlimax. It is unsurprising. We knew that we're going to get here in the first place.
Well, as Jeff said, he put up a fight, but he lost. But he at least put up a fight.
Can't finish.
That's it. But I'm not sure. Perhaps who's going to be the biggest winner in the long run. We do not know what perhaps has been promised to Mr. Fuba. It looks like he has lost the battle now, but we're not sure what will play out immediately after the elections in 2027. There could perhaps one or two promises would have been made to him to, listen to your political godfather and I would do this, because we know how these things work sometimes in politics. So touring the path of the likes of former President Goodluck Jonathan, and perhaps ensuring maybe there's peace. Yes, some will say, oh, he demolished the state assembly and all of that. He did a lot of things, presented a budget to just 4 members of the assembly and all of that. So some will question indeed if he's really a man of peace. But I think for him to align now, I'm suspecting that perhaps promises have been made. We'll see how this plays out in 2027 when the appointments begin to roll in. Guys, there's something else we need to talk about.
No, just for a live of that. He has done his own. At least he's been governor, even though he's been an incumbent governor. The supporters are what we're talking about here. You understand? And the agreements they made, we may never know. The agreement could be go in peace after your tenure as God. You know, there was a time the anti-graft agency was after him when he was accountant general of the state and all of that. So we don't know what the negotiations are. We don't know what the agreements are in all of this. But my empathy is for the people who stuck their neck out, who fought hard, and who didn't get anything, at least to the best of my knowledge. LGA, MDAs, federal appointments, ambassadorial, or even get re-election for those who are incumbent. So
even in terms of governance, I think
Nigeria, when they switch allegiances, they will find placements in the coalition.
It's not impossible.
Even in terms of governance, I mean, the people of Rivers have had to go through hell and a lot. But I mean, the other issue has to do with this 1 billion naira in the budgets for musical instruments in bended churches. Now I wish I'm from Abia State so that I can canvas for my church.
Actually, the money is about 780 million.
That's the clarification. That's the clarification from the office of the deputy speaker. He was trying to put up that defense that after VAT has been removed and all of that, so the money is in about 780 million naira. That's the clarification from his office. I mean, whether it's 780 million naira or not. 780 million naira for 130 churches, bended churches, for musical instruments, really, in the 2026 budget? Then perhaps all the churches and all the mosques in Nigeria should, in fact, traditional rulers should also bring their own budgets as well. So that, because I'm sure they have needs as well. But this again, another national embarrassment in the 2026 budget. And I like the fact that he's been called out. Yes, he's come out to put up a defense, but for me, this defense does not hold water in any way. Mr. Benjamin Kalu, you should know better.
And we've been talking about the 2026 budget and the discovery of Trachea, a unit of the budget foundation, the insertion of projects for religious institutions, and we discovered that the palace is there. Even though it's a 3,000-page document, Jeffrey, we have what we expect to be a competent National Assembly with 360 House of Representative members and 109 senators, 469 legislators who we believe to be competent. It borders on oversight. What happened to the Committee on Appropriations, the Committee on Public Accounts, where we have credible individuals to look into this document and ensure that this doesn't get in. It also speaks to the concern which has dominated national conversation in the last 1 week or 2 weeks about the fake agency that found its way into the budget with a line item to the tune of over 1 billion naira. So what then were the National Assembly members doing that this escaped their notice? And so some have said that this has some of these budgetary allocations to religious institutions and palaces have been deliberately inserted into the budget, that it's not an oversight, that there are rewards for perhaps political cronies. And so is this what we'll be talking about time and again annually in the appropriation? It also speaks to how hands-on the officials of the Ministry of Budget and indeed the executive itself is. We hope that we can have this conversation someday with the Minister of Finance for clarification about the nature and the objectives of these very curious budgetary allocations in a country where we have out of school children, where we have a challenge in ensuring allocation to capital expenditure to an all-important sector as the Ministry of Health. And so this is very embarrassing.
Let's Minister for Budget.
So
you should be the one to.
I don't know whether Minister of Budget can change it, because the way budget works is that MDAs will submit based on what they want to achieve. Ministry of Works, Ministry of Health, they'll have their capital and of course recurrent component, and that's why they go to these assemblies to defend it, because you earmark, this is an appropriation bill, you earmark and say I want to spend 50 billion for whatever it is you want to spend based on your overhead, your personnel and your capital. Then you come and defend it. Now this one I think has to do with the component that has to do with what's it called, as in constituency projects. But let me read the exact words of the response of Benjamin Kalu. It's interesting how these things work. It is earmarked as a youth reorientation and social support program delivered evangelistically through faith-based organizations in Bende Federal Constituency of Abia State. Bende has 13 federal political electoral wards and over 200 churches. The first phase of this support targets 130 of these churches, averaging about 10 churches per ward, which amounts to approximately 5 to 10 million naira per church. It is designed to equip churches to expand existing youth engagement platforms focused on character reform and deliver more impactful community outreaches. So that is his response as far as guys, you guys are never.
You didn't the part that said the funds are intended to support the purchase of evangelical instruments, public address systems.
Emphasizing that.
And public addresses to promote campaigns against vices such as spread of narcotics and social reorientation is part of what you can do. Is how these things are earmarked. You understand? That's why we're wondering whether this should be in this particular budget. This is a federal budget, for God's sake.
Precisely, we should identify our national priorities.
Another point you can think about again. This money may have been earmarked and may even have been released. Does it even get to these churches? Are you I'm no longer impressed with earmarks. By virtue of what I know about numbers and economics. Right now in Nigeria, I don't get carried away 60-something trillion. No. I'm more about how monies are spent. That is where the wahala is. You can earmark all you want. They can say all you want.
For World Cup as well. Was the money redirected to something else?
We do not know.
We didn't qualify.
So spending we have a spending problem in Nigeria. As much as we have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. So let's even accept without conceding that this is necessary. Let's go and investigate. Did this money really get to those churches?
For me, I will not concede.
No, I'm just saying. I'm not
a challenge of out-of-school children. We have a primary health problem. We have a national security problem. We shouldn't be allocating precious resources
you're not getting my point.
Evangelical missions.
You're not getting my point. I'm saying we can agree without conceding. I'm not saying I support it. Let's even agree without conceding. Did the money even get to those churches? That's another thing you need to prove. So we don't know, but this is Nigeria. Our job is to ask questions. And guys, you can spend our monies better than this now. Abi?
Taxpayers' money.
Thank you for your time and company. We'll investigate this further and others.
I will continue. We'll continue with the questioning mission tomorrow when we'll come back for the home stretch. Thank you for your time and company. Sunrise Daily is up next. I am Bukola Koka.
From Lagos, Nigeria, I am Kelly Egiga.
Do yourself a favor as a citizen. Don't just leave it to Nigerian journalists and budgets. Please, when you hear there's a budget, it's an open document. Go, check through, find out the things that make sense and the things that are ludicrous, and call your people out. Thank you for your time. I'm Jeffrey Zonga. Bye-bye.